Today, my interview is with Dani Williamson, the author of Wild and Well, which I'm holding up here. This is my personal copy. I love this woman. You know what? There are certain people you come across in your life that are so authentic and so real. And Dani's authenticity did not come without struggle. We are going to be talking about caregiving today. We're going to be talking about taking on the responsibility of caring for other people regardless of relationship. She had a very traumatic childhood. She did not have a great relationship with her mother, yet she was the one that ended up taking care of her in the end, on top of running multiple businesses, having children, having a life, and having to really learn how to set boundaries for her self-care and for her sanity. And she's going to share her tips with you today. Powerful conversation. We're going to talk about how she overcame medical diagnoses, how she figured out how to set the boundaries to care for her mom out of an obligation by healing her trauma, by really honing in on who she is and what's important. This is a powerful conversation, great energy, wonderful woman. My pleasure to introduce Dani Williamson. Hi, Dani.
It's about time. I'm so excited.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I've met a lot of people in health and wellness, right? All these people that we connect with, and I've had conversations with so many people and some amazing, brilliant physicians and whatnot. But you might be my favorite person. I love spending time with you. I love chatting with you. I love your authenticity. I love every conversation we have ever had. And really, truly, you really are probably my favorite person in health and wellness. So I'm so thrilled that you took some time out of your day to come chat, because I want to talk to you about some really important things that I think will help so many people.
Yes. Oh, man, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I am real, just like you. And either people love it or they hate it. So, it is what it is. And so I'm not going to change. So I adore you as well. So yes, we've had some good times together.
We have indeed. So let's be real. So here's what I want to talk to you about today, because I know you're a wealth of knowledge in so many different areas. But one of the things that I've witnessed you go through, that I went through myself, that I suspect many listeners are going through, is this caregiving role that we take on. I don't want to limit it to women. I know that anyone can do it, but we in particular, running a practice, maybe we have families, maybe we have all sorts of things, and a parent gets sick and we have to figure out how to take care of them or arrange care for them and still manage our lives. And I have witnessed in myself, I've witnessed in clients, how much this drains our fire, our love, our heart. And we feel so alone and disconnected. And you've recently gone through this. You've recently gone through taking care of your mom with Alzheimer's, correct?
Correct. And she died a very difficult death at age 78, August of 2023. And the 5 years prior to that were an absolute nightmare, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. For the people who don't know, and nobody would unless they know me watching your podcast, I grew up in complete chaos. Like my mother's father had died by suicide 6 years to the day before I was born. My mother had attempted suicide multiple times prior to me. I had a stepfather that was a child molester. The second stepfather beat me almost unconscious my senior year in high school, bleeding from the ear, and I had chronic irritable bowel. We didn't know it was IBS. I had 4 colonoscopies before I was 40, diagnosed with lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic itching, just idiopathic itching, right? Nobody could figure it out. And I was depressed on top of all that. So all that being said, I was 44 years old before I ever got help. Like before anybody ever looked at me and said, "Dani, what are you eating?" And that's not what we're talking about. But what we're
valuable. I like it.
Well, it contributed to my autoimmune disease, right? I mean, I wouldn't have had lupus had I not grown up in a hellhole over there for 18 years. And once I learned about, if you're born healthy, you don't have to live sick. and we've turned these chronic lifestyle diseases on. And if you've turned them on, then why can't we turn them off? Well, I have since done that. I am living proof that if you were born healthy, you don't have to live sick. And I changed the diet. I healed the gut. I did all of that. It changed the entire trajectory of my medical practice when I learned that, holy cow, what you're eating could kill you. But I did not know that what happened to you before the age of 18 could set you up for a lifetime of chronic disease. Because as we know, right, the body keeps score. And my body kept score in the gut. And that gut, which is 80-ish% of your immune system, turned on that lupus and that fibro and that depression and that itching. And it was fascinating until I dealt with the childhood trauma, which my family still to this day does not acknowledge. You know, I did not take my healing to the whole next level. Also didn't take my medical practice to the next level because, I mean, I did well with patients, but I'd never got them really where they needed to be until I learned about the trauma. And so when I started addressing the trauma and did the hard, deep EMDR, somatic work, experiential therapy, went to a place called Onsite for a week. All of this, I did all of this while still, my mother and I like this, we've never liked each other. She told me when I was 13 years old, you caused me to lose the only man I ever loved. That was the child molester.
Oh, Dani.
So we started off from day one with trouble. Well, I went through all this healing and all this trauma work, tried to talk to her. She wouldn't listen to it. And then she got sick. Thank God. God is good. He knew that I could have never cared for a mother who didn't care for me had I not done this work. And someone introduced me to trauma work. And I did. I'm an only child. There's nobody. My mom's an only child. I mean, everyone's dead but the two of us. And now she's dead, and now it's me. But I could have never cared for her the way I did, and I did it too, had I not done that hardcore work. And she never acknowledged it.
Well, I find it interesting. This is kind of out there, but she had Alzheimer's. So not only did you do the work to be able to care for her, but she also was losing memory of what the past was, which is very difficult, but might have been a blessing to you to not have to always be in that. Or did the Alzheimer's bring out the bad part? You know, because I know I've had Alzheimer's in my family. I've cared for them, and I've watched some of them become very happy and go lucky and go with the flow, and some just become absolutely miserable and revert back to their abusive selves.
Well, that's what my mom did. My grandmother, her mother, was sweet from day one. She was like salt of the earth in our town. Everybody loved Ina May. Ina May became just even sweeter, and it was so great. I mean, it was terrible, but you know, she died a kind, sweet, gentle grandmother who didn't know me in the end, right? But my mother knew me until the very last breath, and it was it was hard, and she became meaner and meaner. So it was so interesting. It was interesting. It was heartbreaking. It was healing. I'm telling you, it is for anyone who's struggling with this, you know, it's interesting. When I shared this story after she died, and I talked about caring for a mother who never cared for me, I had hundreds of people reach out to me and say, I'm so grateful you said this and voiced this, because we've wanted to say this about our experience and we couldn't, or we wouldn't, or we were scared to. I mean, what are you going to do? I think that being able to tell your story, but you have to work through your story before you're able to tell it.
Well,
because
yeah,
if you're still damaged,
trauma. Yeah,
that's
there's
exactly
lots of trauma
right.
there. And you didn't have to take care of her. I mean, I'm an only child as well. So we take on as only children. I just said, I'm the person who's going to take care of my mom when she's dying. And my dad was quick, unfortunately. My grandparents, my stepdad, who I did not get along with, just passed a few months ago, and I took care of him. And I didn't have to take care of him, but this only child in me that took care of everything. When my parents, I took care of them when I was a kid. So why wouldn't I take care of them when I'm an adult? And that having to work through that and set up my own boundaries to say, I don't have to do that. I don't have to respond right away when they reach out. I'm assuming you had to set so many boundaries for yourself in order to care for her at all.
You bet. So you may not remember this. One of the very first times that we met, we were in California, and my mom had just been put into the assisted living to live, right? She was
Yeah.
still lucid enough, but not enough to live on her own. Furious, furious. I was stealing everything. I mean, she called the judge, she called the attorney, she called the police, she called everybody, and she destroyed that conference for me. The phone, I have voicemails on here that I've saved, and I really probably should get rid of them because what good does it do? But her calling me terrible things. I'm going to jail. Just horrible voicemails. So, what you said, because us as women who have hard relationships with their mother, this is what I've discovered is we never outgrow wanting to have that relationship with your mom. What do you want as a little girl? You want a good relationship with your mom, right? You want to be able to go shopping with her without somebody crying or getting left at the mall like she did me, left me at the mall, said, get out. And just left me there, at the mall. It was a constant fight. And all through my life, even with my children, I finally learned I'm not going to change her. I am not, but I was already in my early 50s. This is crazy by the time I learned this, that don't answer the phone when she calls. And this is before she went to the assisted living. Don't answer the phone. Let this go to voicemail. And I get the opportunity to see what the tone is. And then I'll call back if I want. Or maybe I won't call back because I'm not going to be abused again. Because every single time, daughters with abusive mothers, and my mother was abusive, most of the time they don't change. And you keep trying to get that to happen, right? And every time you hang up the phone, you're in tears and you're crying and you're calling your best friend and you're like, I can't believe her. And you keep going back and going back. It's like going back to, I don't know what, to bad relationships. And yeah. I finally learned to set my boundaries, and boundaries are key. Boundaries are key in your entire life. And we don't think that we can set boundaries with our family, especially even our children. I've got something going on right now with a daughter of mine. One child is doing fantastic. The other one won't speak to me after the election, and that's been 3 months. Nothing. I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I don't know what to do. So I've got to figure that out. But we have the right to set boundaries, even with our family members. Mm-hmm. We have the right to cut out the soul suckers. Mm-hmm. Even Jesus put boundaries between his people, he and his people. And I figure if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me and you. And so I set those boundaries, and I'm so grateful I did, and that I did the hard work. And then when she got sick and I had to step in, after she changed the will, took me out of the will, gave me $10,000 in the will, but took everything else out. Everything is to be sold at auction. What?
And by the way, who has to organize the selling at auction? You get nothing, and it's so much work. I just did that whole. I was like, this is ridiculous. I should have just said everything should just go to Goodwill. Like, this is dumb.
Yes. And so even after I got that letter in the mail from the attorney, you've been removed from that, blah, 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 I set my brand when I went to the judge, and I had to get conservatorship of her. I had to do all these things, and I'm running 2 businesses, a brick and mortar and an online supplement store and a brick and mortar clinic. So really it's 3 businesses, trying to do that from 2 hours and 22 minutes away. I knew it to the minute how long it would take me to get to her, to the assisted living, trying to do that. And then we're also trying to build in self-care in our life. And I'm talking to patients all day, every day of, oh my gosh, build a life that you don't have to escape from. And I'm freaking thinking, God, dang. How do we do that? Where you don't want to escape from it when all I wanted to do was escape from it. But I'm telling you, I worked hard to do it, and I did it. And she died, and that is actually very fortunate, because Alzheimer's, as you know, is not going to get better when you live in Western Kentucky, and there's no help for that, right? There's
There's no
nothing.
help
It's
in
not.
Arizona either. Getting a
That's right.
caregiver that shows up on time, getting somebody that you can trust in the house, getting financially trying to pay for a caregiver, it's told that it's covered, it's not, then paying out of pocket, then having the hospice care, then having, I mean, it's a full-time job. And I think when you were saying, how do you build in self-care? One of the things, I guess this is kind of like Mel Robbins' let them theory, right? It's like you almost have to let go of everything out. You have to be like, okay, who cares if there's a kitchen sink? Let it, because you don't have time to do it. You have to prioritize what you're going to spend your time doing, knowing that it's temporary, and then setting the boundaries on what you're willing to put up with or not. And that's a lot more complicated, like you said, when you have that abuse relationship, or even just the patterns we learn as kids. I was alone a lot. I took care of myself a lot. I took care of others a lot. And so I felt guilty if I wasn't there. When my mom was dying of cancer, she lived 30 minutes from me. I used to see her every day. We had a rough past, but we ended up mending it. We were great friends at the time that she got sick, and she helped me run my medical practice. And I would see her once a week. I would talk to her almost every day, but I still felt guilty. I felt like, well, I should be abandoning everything. I should be not being with my kids. I had young kids at the time, and I was
Yes.
like, how do you take care of the kids? How do you take care of the medical practice? I had a brick and mortar at the time. See my patients, see 10 to 12 patients a day, and then go home and take care of these little babies and, talk to my husband and have a relationship, and then also care for my mom. And we had a good relationship, it's, there's so many of us out there, Dani, that have gone through this experience. So sometimes we can't handle it all. And sometimes we have to learn how to ask for help. And there are times that we're not going to do it perfectly anymore. And this show is very much about us, living in perfection and living by what others expect of us, or what we perceive others expect of us. I felt like it was my job. People were going to say, you're a bad daughter if you don't show up and take care of your mom. Regardless of the relationship, you're a bad daughter if you don't take care of your stepdad. What will people think if you don't follow up with this man who was abusive and was rude? And I didn't enjoy taking care of him. And I'm, God bless you. I hope you're resting in peace. And I did what I needed to do to make sure that he was safe out of obligation.
That's right. That's right.
At what expense? I don't know. I came at it with love and compassion. And I think, like you, I had come to a point in my life where I was able to live in love and compassion,
Right.
rather than in blame and fear and anger. And so that helped me set boundaries. That helped me realize that there were things he was going to complain about that I could do nothing about. That helped me hand off the care to a subpar caregiver at times. I mean, luckily we found someone good in the end. But what are your tips on this? Because people listening are kind of like, yeah, I hear ya, but there's so much to do. But maybe we don't mop the floor. Maybe we don't vacuum. Maybe we don't worry about where dinner's coming from, and we just do what we can do. Maybe it's about letting go of the other things, and so that you can focus on what you need to do right now.
I talk about that in the De-Stress Well chapter. So that's why I was pulling up here. Because we are a nation of empty vessels, right? And I say it right here. Eleanor Brown said it very well. Rest and self-care are so important. When you take the time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. And I go back to that all the time is, okay, I can't serve from an empty vessel, right? I had 2 kids. I'm a single mom. I run 3 businesses, just like millions of other women out there, or 2 businesses really. But I've got a dying mother. I've got aging parents. I've got this. I've got that. What do? You do the best you can. And I tell patients this all the time. You put socks on. And I write about it in here. If the floor is dirty, then put your friggin' socks on and just walk. You can't do it all. You have to automate, eliminate, and delegate everything you can. AED. And I talk about that there. Just like it will bring you back to life, you have to do the same thing in your life. Automate everything you can. Eliminate everything that is not serving you and your family while we're in this crisis situation. Now, once you get out of this situation, you keep these things off your plate anyway, because you're like, you don't have to say yes to everything. No is a complete sentence. And as women, we feel so guilty not doing everything for everyone, or being the room mother or whatever. I mean, it could be a million things. The kid's going to go to third grade whether you're the room mother or not, and who cares if the festival doesn't get organized? I'm not doing it. I've got enough on my plate. I don't give a rat's ass if there's a fall festival at the Gilbertsville Elementary School. I don't care. And so I'm not doing it. You only do what is going to serve you and your family. That's not selfish. That's not selfish when the flight attendant says, put your oxygen mask on first. That is in order to fill your vessel up, because when your vessel's full or your oxygen is flowing and it's full, then the others get the overflow and they also get help. We have it so backwards. I had a patient tell me Monday, and I actually texted it to myself. She said, what if we all started living like our husbands?
Oh, that'd be fun. It'd be so low stress. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I know that men worry about things, but it's different.
It's totally different. And so I said that to her. I said, holy cow. And she said to me, what if we played golf for 4 hours? Well, I mean, most women don't go off and do that, right? But a man will. Now, they also work, so I'm not ragging on men, but men tend to take better care of themselves. They may not go to the doctor. We know that. We have stats on all that. But they also go to bed when they're friggin' tired, right? They don't spend 45 minutes getting the lunches ready, the laundry ready, the food ready for the animals, the this, the that, the blah, 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 blah. They get up, they brush their teeth, and they go to bed, and they're asleep most of the time within 5 minutes.
And they delegate well. Hey, hon,
delegate
I'm
well.
I'm out of this or that. Can you order it for me? Oh, hey, have you seen my shoes? Do you know where my keys are? But
Yes.
Then again, I'm the one that chooses to look for the keys. I don't have to look for the keys. I can come back and I can say, I don't know where your keys are, and walk away. And I think we are ingrained and we're trained to solve the problem. And that is just something that we are ingrained. Were you that way as a kid as well? Like, were you just like prior to this transformation where you said, okay, I'm going to put these boundaries down? And by the way, Bad Moms was like the best movie for me because that is totally me. I have no interest in the PTA or the festival, and I don't really care what people say. I love my children. I will give them everything I have, but I'm not going to the fall festival either. So I'm with you. I know that was hilarious. But were you, prior to going through this trauma work, which I would really love to talk to you more about, were you like, what were you like? Were you like this as a kid? Did you take everything on? Like, what was pre-Dani versus the Dani we see now?
Everything. I started in high school with chronic diarrhea, right? I mean, just every time I'd eat, I was sick as a dog. I was so wound tight. I remember being in a pharmacy. I don't know. I must have been in middle school. And the pharmacist looked at me. I don't even know what we were doing, but he goes, smile. He said, it can't be that bad. I was a kid. And now I look back on that and I'm like, dude, you had no idea what was happening in my house. Yes, I got a job at 13. 13, I got my first job, and then I worked 2 and 3 jobs all through high school, so I never had to be in that house as little as possible, right? As little as possible in that home. I took it all on, went to college, and yes, I was very type A, my mother's famous words were, you do everything half-ass, you'll never amount to anything. That's what I was told. Millions of people are told this every day. You do everything half-ass. So I was going to prove to them that I wasn't half-ass. And, I did when I just moved the clinic. We just moved clinics after 10 years, and I shared that post. You may not have seen it, but I had all those diplomas on my wall and all those certifications. And, I did this and I did that and all that. And I had a whole wall of it. And she had already died. And I made a video about it and said, as I was taking them down, I don't have I have one diploma in my new clinic. I have nothing else. That I did that because I kept trying to prove to her that I wasn't half-assed. And I just realized it July of last year, of 2024.
How did
that's
you
what I was doing. That
how
I
did
don't
you
have.
realize it? Were you doing energy work, or like how did that come up? Did it come up from the subconscious, or what did you
No,
do?
it came up just as I was moving and packing all
You
this
just were
crap,
like,
and I was looking at this wall full of accomplishments, and it was all spiraling. Mom hadn't been dead a year yet,
yeah.
and it was like, gosh, look at that. Yeah, I did that, and I did that, and I have 3 master's degrees. Have you lost your mind, Danny? I mean, it's just like stupid, and it was all because I was half-assed. You'll never do anything to mount. You'll never amount to anything. And I shared a video about it that people were so kind and loving about it that absolutely you are enough as you are right now. Anybody out there who's listening to this, no matter what, whether you have a high school diploma or no diploma, or you're a doctor somewhere, you are amazing exactly as you are. God's not surprised at anything, anywhere we are right this moment. It's not
It's
surprising him. My
so
daughter's not speaking to me because of an election. What? I
Which,
mean,
you know what? That's her. But once again, that's her path. That's her decision.
well, and
And you
that's
know what? And you never know what's going to happen in the future. And we spend so much time worrying about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? We don't know. We just have to be. We just have to be, and who we are, and love who we are. And I think as a society, and I know you agree, we are losing that love for ourselves, that self-worth for ourselves, and we're putting so much weight on what other people think of us. And I even look in our industry, and if you and I sat down with doctors and said, go on social media, introduce them to your life, they freak out. They say, I can't do that. Oh my God, what would people think? And I know, you and I are very open and authentic wherever we are, but I wasn't always that way. I would say there was a shift in me. There was a growth that had to happen for me to say, you know what? Love me or hate me, I'm going to speak my truth because my voice matters. And
you bet.
we definitely close off our throat chakra as women. We close off. We're not supposed to talk. We're just supposed to do. And there's so many thoughts there, and there's so much advancement in women and women empowerment. But at the same time, that women empowerment is telling us that we're supposed to do more, not
Yes.
necessarily speak our truth and say no to things and hold our ground in our heart. And I think your message, I think both of us collectively, you put the two of us on the mission train, and we're on the same train because we have to change this as women. We have to set our boundaries. We have to go back to who are we as children? What did we love to do? How do we take care of ourselves? What brings us joy? Right? What do
That's
you do for joy? What's your joy thing, Dani?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love to hike. I absolutely love to be outside, and I love to travel. Yesterday, so all you all that are listening, right? I am not a mom hater. I am not. I am sad. I've gone through grief therapy, and what I learned in grief counseling was that I am grieving, and probably will the rest of my life, something I never had. Not what I lost. Because
Right.
I lost being told you're half-assed, you're this bad. I didn't lose anything that was serving me well. I lost what I never had and never will have. And that is sad. So that's a different kind of grief,
Mm-hmm.
and all. But this being said, travel is my thing. I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 soon. I've been divorced for 22 years. I am going to travel as much of the world as I can by myself or with somebody. I'd love to do it with somebody, but if nobody's with me, that's fine too. I booked a trip yesterday to Paris, France, and London in September by myself. It's done. It's done. And the interesting thing is, so this is going to be a full circle moment for me. I've never been to either one of those places.
Yeah.
2 days before my mom died, I asked her, I said, where did you never get to go, Mom, that you would have loved to have gone to? And she said, Paris, France. I had no idea she wanted to go to Paris, France. My mother was very fancy, poor, but very fancy, dressed like $1,000,000 and on nothing. And I'm going to be there on her birthday in September in Paris because there's a conference in London I'm going to, but I am going to use that as a healing circle. It would have been great to have done that with a mother that loved you. I'm sure she loved me. She just didn't like me. And
Or she
and
didn't
same
know
for me.
how.
I didn't like her either, really,
And,
but I
and you know what?
loved her.
And maybe she didn't know how. I mean,
She had
sometimes
no idea.
people just
She had
don't
no
know
idea. She had
how.
3 marriages, 3 divorces. You can be married 5 times and be an amazing person, or
Yeah.
10. So I'm not
Yeah.
dissing that either. But she never could keep that, together. No, she didn't love herself. I
Yeah.
don't think so. She was institutionalized multiple times. It was a mess for her. Yet she had no childhood trauma. Her ACE score was 1. Her parents got divorced, and she had no genetics for Alzheimer's when I checked her.
Yeah.
She had 0. In fact, she was like me. She had protective genes. It was all lifestyle.
It is
All
lifestyle. And
lifestyle.
I think it's a lot of mindset too. When you
You
live
bet.
in hate and anger and blame,
Anger.
and you live
Anger
at
right
that
there.
low frequency, and you're not opening up your heart to forgiveness and love and openness and acceptance, you do develop disease. And people don't understand that. I think people, or maybe they understand it. I shouldn't put words in people's mouth. Maybe people understand it, but maybe not the extent of which it really does play a role in health, in heart disease, in cancer, in Alzheimer's, in autoimmunity, in holding those traumas, holding that anger and blame, and how the body responds. Our thoughts dictate what our cells do.
That's exactly right.
And if we're thinking I'm crappy, or if we're always worrying, am I going to get cancer? Do I have cancer? Yeah, eventually. I mean, it
Yes.
shows that your thoughts do matter, and how you work through things and see the world and position yourself in the world, and the boundaries you set do have an absolute impact on our physical health. I see that every day. You see that every day. You've personally witnessed it.
Yeah, and my focus in my practice is Hashimoto's and
Mm-hmm.
hypothyroidism. And so, as you were speaking, I spoke it today to the new patient. I said, look, this is your 5th chakra right here. This is your voice. This is your throat. This is your thyroid here. And I said, now her trauma ACE score was 0, very rare, but she has Hashimoto's. And I talked to her about many of my patients, my Hashimoto's patients, have a high trauma score because as little children or older children, they had no voice, or they felt that they lost their voice, right? And the trauma manifests here, right here in this throat. And some people get cancer from it. Some people have Hashimoto's, some have nodules. Mine just happened to manifest in the gut. And I never quit screaming and talking, as you can tell. Blah, 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 blah. I was most talkative 1984 in high school because I am most talkative. I never lost my voice, which is interesting. And probably another reason my mom and I never got along, because I never backed down. I mean, no one deserves to get hit, but I was not going to be talked to that night by that second stepfather. And he just beat the crap out of me in there. I wasn't disrespectful. I don't mean that, but I always spoke my truth. And I think that was a saving grace for me, and in all that trauma. I mean, your future, your God knows your future. And even when you're going through that, and that is my testimony now, is that you can grow up in chaos, but you don't have to be chaos. And it took me a lot of years to learn that.
Yeah, your environment does not dictate your success.
No.
How you learn from it, grow from it, change from it, forgive yourself for it. And the thyroid is between the brain and the heart. And my
Yes.
thyroid patients, I find, are very much in their stress mind. They're very much in their conscious mind. And they're not connecting to their heart, doing things that are joy. And they're so focused on how they can fix their thyroid, that they're not. I'm like, well, what do you do for fun? Oh, yeah. Well, how do I fix my thyroid? I'm like, no, wait, I need to hear about your heart. Like, because we're disconnected here. You're running 2 different systems with something in the middle that's causing a reaction. And that's a hard concept too. And I do think I was loud and talkative. I just didn't speak my truth. Right. But you spoke your truth, which is
Oh, I did.
amazing.
I did.
I just pretended. I just said what people needed to hear,
No.
or what the people around me would want me to say, for the longest time. And that comes from being in the modeling world, right? You just grow up, you say what. I was working from the time I was 9 months old, and by 13, definitely working and having to show up and be an adult and be what they are. And so I lost my authenticity in my voice. But when I get sick, I lose my voice. That's like my number one thing right now. I lose my voice when I get sick. When I'm stressed, I lose my voice. And it used to always go to my gut, and it doesn't as much anymore. So obviously that's kind of worked its way. I think my root chakra has kind of like finally, found its home, but it does come to the voice, and it is so true how we manifest that emotionally. When,
Yes.
when you said you went through all this trauma work and you were in your 40s, you said, right? Like when you started doing a lot of that work?
Yeah, I started in my 40s. I started in some counseling in my 30s before I got divorced, but it really didn't have anything to do with trauma. Trauma work started in the 40s, and then I was probably 52. So it's about 7 years ago. I went to Onsite, which is for 6 days. Look them up. Onsite
Okay.
programs. Onsite's world renowned. People come from all over the world to go to Onsite. They have a living centered program, 6 days designed to bring you back to center. And you turn your phones in. There's no
Yep.
TV. When you get there, it's 6 days with 12 hours a day of experiential therapy in a small group setting, or I mean, you can do privates, but I was in a group. There were 7 of us, and you are bonded for life when you finish those 6 days. It was the most unbelievable. So you go back to your original trauma that you remember. Well, that was being molested
So you
for
do this
me.
through hypnosis or
No,
conscious?
no, no.
Like you're
We're
starting
talking
with
it out
conscious
and
work.
you're
Okay.
acting it out. So there's a whole scene
Okay.
with the people in your group and you're acting it out. And it is hard as heck work. It's as hard as EMDR. And I did
Yeah.
EMDR as well before I went to Onsite. Had I not gone to Onsite the year or two before my mom got sick, there is no way I could have had the mental capacity or the loving kindness, honestly, to deal with a mean woman. And I didn't know how long this was going to last. God was very merciful when when she died when she did, because it was getting bad. It was getting really rough. But no, on site, I am a big believer in doing the hard work. It's hard when you sit down. And then I realized, I mean, the damage I had done to my children, right? Well, not young, but as a single mom for now 20 something years, raising kids on food stamps and going to school full time and all these things that were so stressful. There are so many things and I'm not guilty about it. I don't feel
Yeah.
guilty because none of us are perfect. But there were so many things now that I talk to women about. Look, it's short. The days are long, but the years are short. And man, I felt like with my kids, I was constantly going, just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. Hang on, just a minute. I just a minuted their little life away, and they just want your attention. But I was doing it all, right? I was in charge of everything and had an ex-husband that wasn't helping.
Yeah.
And, so I really learned a lot about grace and forgiveness. And grace is huge. And I tell women every day, give yourself grace, man. Give yourself the grace that you would give your best friend or somebody you met at the coffee shop who was over there crying, and you talk to them and you give them the grace, give yourself the grace you would give them, because there was only one perfect human, and it's not us.
Yeah.
And man, when you realize that what we are so worried about and stressed about, as we've talked about before, that oftentimes never even comes into existence. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe you believe in multiple lives and all, but I don't know what happens, what we do. But I know right now at 59 years of age, I've got way more years behind me than I do in front of me.
Right.
And by gosh, the next 30, 40 years, I mean, 40, I'd be at what, 109? But it's possible. I'll still have red hair as long as Kuhn is still making color. I can tell you that. But no, seriously, we have to go right now. Holy cow! Let's bring it to center, and let's start living our best life. Because I'm not broken. I never was broken, and I'm going to live my best life with joy. Joy. And I think that is so hard for people to realize. As women, we may not be the head of the home, technically, right? On the taxes and all that mess. I mean, it may be a joint, but your husband may be head. I don't know. But technically, if we're married, we're not the head, it says, but we set the tone for the entire home. Whether you're the head of the household or not, you set the tone for the entire home, the mood, the moment you walk in that door. And if you're so overcommitted, over scheduled, stressed out, the entire family feeds on this, and it is a vicious cycle. Vicious cycle.
You feel it when you walk into a party or a room and you've got that one person that you know, walks by you and you can just feel you're like, I don't want to get in a conversation with that person, you know.
They suck the air out of the entire room.
And it does pass down to the kids. And, you know, the show is called What Am I Modeling? And the question is, what are you modeling for your children? And granted, when you were saying just a minute for your kids, I exactly the same way. And there was that point where I was like, wait a minute, life could end tomorrow. What if that minute I missed something important from them? How is this impacting their life? How am I serving them by putting them off? Are they now learning that they're supposed to put off their children? Like, when I started to realize the legacy that I could leave for future generations, and I started to realize the health of our kids right now and how they're getting sicker and sicker, and what they're learning in school and what they're learning from media, which is such a small, one-sided opinion of somebody, as opposed to learning how to spend time together. The family dinner table, where did that go? You know, meeting with friends and having conversations, you know, of same thought, varying thought, of just laughing, you know, sharing a meal, like these little things that
just slowing down. That's right.
They're gone, you know, and these are things that bring us joy. And then we sit back and we say, why am I so depressed? Why do I not love my life? You know, as our phone is binging and our email's binging and it's ringing and our kids are crying and our dog threw up on the couch and, you know, all these things going on. I was going to say the solution is within ourselves. When you were talking about, you know, what would you say to the person crying at the coffee shop? What would you say to your child if they came home and they said, Mom, I've been bullied. I'm horrible. I'm not worth anything. I'm overwhelmed. What would we say to them, right? We would come at them from a place of love and support. Yes. But we don't do that for ourselves. What if we were our best friend? I mean, the bottom line is we're looking for other people to solve our problems. We're looking for the doctor to tell us what's wrong with our thyroid. We're looking for the neighbor to reassure us that we're the good parent. We're looking for the PTA to say, oh, she was the top of this or that. We're looking for the mom to say, hey, I see all the diplomas on the wall. You did great. We're looking for validation from everybody. But the person we need to validate is us. Like, we're the solution. We're the solution to everything. Yep. And once you realize that, and unfortunately, I don't think we really start to realize it until we're over 40.
You bet. No.
And I'll be 50 next year. And just even the growth from 45 to 49 has been incredible. And I'm excited for my 50s to continue to grow and learn more about how to serve myself better and put up those boundaries. But I mean, we are our own solution. Nobody is going to solve this.
No.
But
No. And it's not easy. You know, it's like what I tell patients all day, doing what I ask them to do about elimination diet, you know, and setting boundaries and, you know, going to bed, sleeping well, moving well, pooping well, de-stressing well. I tell them, look, it's real simple what I ask you to do, but it's not easy. And there's a difference. And when you take the emotion out of this, when you just are emotion, I don't mean like a blank slate, but I mean you just don't have the emotion in it. Man, you get it done. It's like doing an elimination diet, right? It's not about what you can't eat. It's about all the incredible foods that you can eat, that God made hundreds of foods for us and we only eat about 12 of them. You know, let's go try an artichoke right now or a daikon radish, or, you know, it's not, we only see what we can't do or can't have, but there's so much more out there. And when we start expanding that and looking at it in that, with that view, it's so much easier and it's way less emotional. I'm emotional and I am animated about things, but I mean, it's just like going to the gym. I have a trainer now and oh my Lord, I just have to take the emotion out of it and go, all right, let's go, man. I got this body and these flabby arms right here, which I was, you know, crying out loud. I'm hard as a rock right here, but this bullshit is like ridiculous. And I mean, it's so dumb. Wait till you're 59. And I'm like, look at that. So yeah, yesterday. I was at the trainer and I was talking to him and we were doing stuff and I said, oh my Lord, this is awful. He said, watch how you talk to yourself, Dani. He said, you got two arms to
They
lift
move.
these weights up there. You've got two arms. I mean, that'll get better or it won't. Who cares?
Can
Who
you
cares?
lift things? Can
That's
you,
right.
you know,
Can you put your suitcase above your seat when you're going to Paris in September, right?
and you don't pull
And
your
then
back out. Yeah.
yes, and
And,
bring it back when it's a lot heavier. Can you still
yeah.
get it up there and do it? That's what it's all about. So we have to talk to ourselves so much kinder, and just say, man, good Lord, I am a friggin' rock star. Look what I did today. Or look what I've done this year. Look what I've done. And I'm getting ready to do so much more amazing things and give yourself so much grace. And man, if you've got a parent that's an a-hole, because many of them are, many of your siblings may be a-holes, you don't have to take the abuse. You don't have to. You can set your boundaries. You don't, and if you host Thanksgiving and Christmas or all the holidays at your house and you don't like it, but it's been dropped on you, guess what? This is April. It's April right now. I don't know when this is coming out, but Thanksgiving is not until November. I'd be sending out a group text right now to the family and say, you know what? I hate to do this, but I'm giving you all plenty of notice. I won't be able to host Thanksgiving this year. It's not a good time for me. That's it.
Exactly.
You don't have to explain
right.
anything. And I'll be glad to cook something for your house. Please let me know if we're doing Thanksgiving somewhere. And guess what? If nobody steps up, Thanksgiving is going to come and go, whether you did it or not, and you'll be a lot more peaceful. So you have the right to cancel it or say we're going to friggin' Cracker Barrel. I mean, I don't know. Please don't. But eat the gluten that day, whatever. But you don't have to host it. You don't, just because it's always been done one way, you have. Man, we're not getting any younger. Don't do it if it causes you that much stress.
I say, ask yourself when you have a situation, can you control the outcome?
Yeah.
Is it worth your energy? And then make a decision. Am I going to take it on? Am I going to delegate it or am I going to let it go? And there is so much that we do, one, out of obligation where it's not worth our energy. It drains our energy. We hate doing it. It's stressful. It's like you don't want to do it, but you do it. But it doesn't meet those qualifications. And then there's other ththings that we do or we jump onto that are completely out of our control. I don't know where my husband's keys are. So why am I taking on the responsibility of finding them? I don't know. I mean, I guess I could control the outcome, but I don't know where they are. So, it's little things throughout your day where you're like, is this really worth my time? And I find a good 80% disappears when you look at that. What can I control? And is this worth my time? Is it serving me to do so?
That's right. I'm telling you, that whole live like your husband situation, I thought was fantastic. And she said to me, she said he needed me to call. He asked me to call. He works from home. I work outside the house. And she said, I can't remember if it's call the insurance agent or call the cable company. I don't remember. And she said, I looked at him. I said, no, I can't, but you can. He said, well, I don't even know the number. She said, well, look it up the way I would. I mean, it's so interesting. And she said, I am not going to take on the extra stuff that I don't have to, that they can do. And that goes for your children as well, right? Teach your kids young how to do the laundry.
My kids made their sandwiches last night and put them in the fridge. They didn't want to.
Exactly right.
But I was like, why? And I said to him, I said those exact words. I said, why do I make your sandwich? I go, you're 16 and 13 years old. It's just bread, mayonnaise, and freaking turkey. Like, why am I doing this? I'll buy it. If you say, hey, Mom, we're getting low on turkey and I'm going to the grocery store, sure, but I'm not going to make the sandwich. Why should I? Right? Why is that my responsibility? But it's so true. And the calling thing's always got to me. They're like, well, I don't know the number. Well, neither do I. It's not in my head. I have to go Google it too. I have to go look for the bill. Like, why is your time more valuable than my time?
That's exactly right. And so we have the right to lovingly decline whatever it is they're asking. How they take that, how they react to that, that's not on us. That's on them. That is 100% on them. And if we say it kindly, or if we explain why, I mean, if we're horrible about it, then, it's going to like this. But if you're kind and gentle about it, if they're offended, that's on you. I'm not going to take that on anymore. But again, young people don't pick up on this earlier, but the ones who do, gosh, can you imagine how they are by the time they get to be my age? So much better, less chronic disease, less heartache, heart problems, breast cancer, which I do believe oftentimes is associated with a lot of anger, right? And a lot of unforgiveness right over that heart right there. Just imagine learning this sooner rather than later. Man, just start now. Not easy, but real simple.
Right now. Perfect way to recap it. Dani, I always love our conversations. Always.
Me too. I think too.
I just do. And there's so much value in this. And, if we just have one person that listens to this and says, enough is enough, it's about me now, I'm going to set my boundaries, I'm going to live for joy, find things that bring me joy, that joy will infect everyone else with joy. And I hope that this episode infected all of you with joy, because I have so much joy with Dani. We're like a ball of joy.
We are.
Bottled into a little bottle that's just exploding everywhere. And Dani, I truly hope that we can see each other in person soon, because I love your soul. I just love you. I'm so excited for your trip to Paris. I hope you will send me a picture. And I will put my mind towards that being an incredibly healing trip for you, where you can just let go of more and just be even more you and get out of life what you want out of it, and hopefully a ton of fun in Paris. I'm so excited.
I think so. I think it's going to be great. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you and all the hard work you're doing out there, helping change lives one at a time over here. So I adore you equally as much as you love me. I love you. So, but guys, we got this sweet life and we need to start living it. And I would say start living it today. Whatever that looks like in your world, start today, setting those boundaries, automating, eliminating, and delegating, and start living your life. You don't have to take on the world. You don't have to. Yep. We don't have to.
And if you want more of Dani, which everyone will, she does have a book, Wild and Well. It's right here. This is my copy.
Yep.
I love it. It's a good one. And you can find her everywhere. But Dani, just remind them it's just DaniWilliamson.com, isn't it?
Yeah, DaniWilliamson.com and Dani Williamson Wellness on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, all that. Dani Williamson apparently is taken, so I had to add wellness to it all those years ago. But yeah, Dani Williamson Wellness, and there you go. So, yep.
There can't be more than one of you. That's just not...
Is that not crazy?
That's not crazy.
No. So but anyway, we share tons of stuff all day, every day on how to live your best, wild and well life in a sick and tired world. It's what I do. And I am living proof you can turn around anything that you've turned on.
Thank you so much, my dear. So much love for you.
Love you, sis.